Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
I'll turn it back over to Chris.
Great job, great job. As you can see from the report out, we continue to look forward to the opportunities to enhance our effectiveness and efficiency as an agency. We continue to examine our people, processes, and technology to move us forward to becoming that #1 paroling authority in the nation. We remain committed to our mission and our operational priorities. And Rita, I'm going to say this even though she told me not to yesterday, we focus on our operational priorities, otherwise known as our 4 E's. Engaging our stakeholders, both internal and external stakeholders. Educating on the parole process where we need. As we travel around the state, we find that there's a lot of misconceptions about what we do and how we conduct our business here. And it's our job as operations folks to clarify or bring about some understanding of the parole process here in Georgia. We also encourage all of our stakeholders, both external and internal, to become active participants in the parole process. And finally, we seek to enhance the parole process here in Georgia. Now, since our last meeting in June, I'd like to highlight some of those opportunities that we've had to utilize those or engage those 4 E's, if you will. We're invited to attend and present at the statewide Georgia of Department of Corrections Wardens Conference, where we focused on our continued partnership and support of their hard jobs and the important role that wardens play in the parole consideration process. Very well received. We also have met with leaders from the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, continue to engage them as partners, actually give them a voice in this process. Already made several enhancements as far as their participation in our new guideline system, as well as language on our website. We're actually running a pilot project now that during our legal investigations, actually reaching out to the criminal defense attorney that represented the client to get some input from them while the case is still fresh so that we hear all sides. Again, trying to make a complete picture for the board of this individual during y'all's consideration. All parole board members and many of the parole staff have engaged inmates throughout several program graduations, as well as visits to various prisons, transitional centers across the state. Just to name a few: Lee Arundel State Prison, Lee State Prison, Burris State Prison, Phillips State Prison, encouraging offenders to prepare themselves for reentry with the understanding that the board is watching and looking for those that are completing necessary programming, demonstrating their desire to be prepared to be successful if they ever get the chance to return to their communities. And Mr. Chairman, I think you had something you wanted to share along those lines?
Thank you, Director Barnett. The board has had a busy month, as you are briefly highlighting there. And we received an email just the other day, and I asked Board Member Jacqueline Bunn if she would just share who sent us the email and just read that email, because I think it merits being read to everyone.
Yes.
We received an email from Dr. Melinda M. Davis, the Director of Academic Education for the Department of Corrections. And it reads as follows: Gentlemen, I send this email as a sincere and heartfelt thank you to the Department of Pardons and Paroles, and specifically the Clemency Division. I've been in attendance for at least 3 graduation ceremonies at facilities where a special announcement has been made regarding the early release of one or more of our graduates. There is no better motivation for offenders to involve themselves in our educational programming. This partnership gives a real-life example of just how much education matters. I've been with GDC since January. Prior to that, I retired from a career as public school teacher, administrator, and district superintendent. I have been to many commencement exercises, but none have touched me to the extent of those in GDC. When I hear the stories of the offenders and the challenges they've overcome, I realize that educators do what they do regardless of their environment. Our goals are to increase opportunities, provide hope, build futures, and improve lives. With your help, some of those who made the decisions to improve are being recognized in a real and life-altering manner. We're compiling a booklet of highlights for GDC's Inmate Services Division. In our academic education section, I'd like to recognize our partnership with P&P. Can I get someone to give me a basic statement? I'll be happy to add how grateful we at GDC are for your consideration. Again, thank you for recognizing the changes made in the lives of those you paroled. And thank you for making those announcements at our graduation ceremonies. I hope to see you again soon. Melinda.
Thank you, Ms. Bunn, Director Barnett.
Very, very powerful. Being in attendance in many of these graduations, to see the change and the impact that they have on these individuals are extraordinary. I'll continue. I know.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
That's a powerful statement from Dr. Dennis, and I appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, for having brought that to our meeting and also Ms. Bunn reading that. I think we'll look at ways to be able to promote that kind of statement on our website as a testimonial. I'd love to see some photographs of Dr. Dennis as well and put that statement out. And we need more of that, because these are the very positive things that parole is doing, that the corrections is doing with our tax dollars to make sure that people do not come back and that recidivism is reduced. It's a very powerful, powerful statement. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Bernard, and actually I made the same comments that you made when I received the email to Director Barnett, and I know that Steve has already been in touch with them to give them a statement that he asked for at the end of the letter, and I agree, because sad enough, the public looks at us sometimes, and the only news they hear is when we take up a death penalty case. And this agency has a whole lot more that it does than just that. Director Barnett.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Director Hayes is all over it. He's working it. So I know Director Shalandra Robertson already touched on this, but I also wanted to highlight that the executive leadership and Office of Victim Services staff met with the Prosecuting Attorney's Council Victim Advocates Office to develop plans on how we move forward together and enhance the victim's voice throughout the criminal justice process and working together towards that common goal. Director Williams from Clemency also touched on the fact that we visited all 5 parole investigator regional teams individually. While we take the opportunity during town hall meetings to meet with everyone in the agency, we wanted to provide an opportunity in a small group to talk with them one-on-one. They are vital to our operations. We were invited to attend and present at the Georgia Department of Corrections Counselor Supervising Training, where we reminded the counselors that in many ways they are the board's eyes and ears. That the board routinely looks at their counselors' notes and relies on them to glean some information as to who is actually ready to make that step and return to the community. We were invited to attend and present at the Georgia Sheriff's Association, where Vice Chairman Braxton Cotton attended and spoke to the sheriffs, reminding them of how important and vital their role is, and that we need to hear from them and for them to remain active in the parole process. We were invited to attend and set up an informational booth at the Prosecuting Attorneys Council Training Conference down in Jekyll Island, where more than 750 DAs, ADAs, solicitors, and investigators attended. We were able to spend a day with them, answering parole-related questions, engaging them in the process, and developing relationships that we can build on. We were invited to attend and present at the Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police, where Clemency Director Bubba Williams again engaged our Chiefs of Police in the parole process, answered questions. portraying to them that we understand the difficult job and that only by working together can we ensure the safety of all Georgians and making sure that we're making the best possible decision in these cases that we're reviewing. We were invited to attend the Council on Superior Court Judges Training Conference where board member Terry Barnard and staff spoke to judges across the state, answering, again, parole-related questions and further developing relationships. We're invited to attend and present at the Georgia Public Defenders Training Conference in Savannah, where more than 400 public defenders and criminal defense attorneys attended our session, presented by Deputy Director Scott Reeves from our Clemency Division, as well as our Director of Legal Services, LaQuandra Smith, and our Senior Hearing Examiner, Steve Boston. They did a little over an hour-and-a-half presentation, and at the end of the hour and a half, they still had a line outside the room, so they had to retreat into the hallway and stay another hour or so and answer questions. So again, a great opportunity to talk about the good work being done here with the board and getting more of our stakeholders involved in the process. We hosted our parole town hall meeting on July the 20th, which the board attended and heard from each of the internal stakeholders. At that point, we did not want our senior leadership to stand up and talk about what their units did and their important role, but we wanted the staff that actually did the work to stand up and talk about it. So it was a great opportunity to hear from folks that we don't normally hear from and kind of get that next management role start moving forward and get them out front. As our Vice Chairman Braxton Cotton said, we currently have staff attending and volunteering / working at the Noble Training Conference here in Atlanta at the Hyatt Regency. And also Vice Chairman Cotton, who is a Georgia chapter member, will also be moderating a panel discussion this afternoon in reference to law enforcement CEOs' response to crisis and investigative reporters. The panel also includes Randy Travis from Fox 5 as well as Mark Winnie. And so after the board meeting today, we'll go over there to Noble and look forward to hearing from that. So as you can see, just since the last board meeting, we've been pretty busy, not only from an operational standpoint, but actually also reaching out to a lot of our stakeholders and making sure they know that we're there, accessible, and understand what it is that we do. And we'll continue full speed ahead, and in the absence of any questions, that would complete my director's report.
Any questions? All right, you've answered everybody's questions.
Thank you, sir.
Great. The next item on our agenda is general comments. And comments on a specific offender are not allowed at this time. However, a person desiring to make such comments should call our contact center at 404-656-4661. That's also on our website if you need to look that number up later. Having said that, are there any public comments related to matters presented at today's meeting? All right. If there are not any comments, before I adjourn, and don't want to embarrass anyone, but these are just precious boys and girls that have come into our meeting.
Thank you. I'm sorry. It's vacation, so I didn't have a place to.
No problem. Why,
So they're my sister's baby, and she's a single mom, so I end up having to take care of them. And then this is my boy.
Well, they're all
And
greatly
he's always
behaved.
with me.
And we want to welcome you to the Pardon and Parole Board Agency. We're glad to have you with us this morning. We sure are.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Don't you apologize for anything. None of us would be here if we had not once been where they are. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion.
All right, is there a second? Second. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And this meeting stands adjourned.